start of giving season.
It is?
I believe so.
Well, good.
It's just tiny little things now, but they're coming.
Really good.
Yeah, it's really good.
Well, home after 8 hours this weekend, so I'll just keep driving by.
Okay, sure. Dakota's Zooming tonight for a regular, and I believe he plans to join for this as well.
I don't know if that's acceptable because
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
no
Perfect.
have problems. You're breaking up.
Hear me now.
Now we can hear you. So. You watching softball or something?
Yeah, doubleheader tonight.
Mine was last night.
I'd switch Wednesdays. I think that's next year.
I only made one. Then I went home.
Done school, we got to learn
Yes.
You're ready to roll, Ronald.
All right. I'd like to call this Public Safety Committee meeting to order. We're going to discuss a stop sign at A Avenue and 9th Street. Is everybody familiar with what I'm talking about?
Is it A Avenue and 9th Street for sure?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very good.
They used to have a big dip sign there.
Yeah, there used to have a ramp. Yep. And now since we redid A Avenue, it kind of flows really nice and people just kind of. Yeah. How many wrecks have been there?
3. First one was shortly after the new streets were put in. I think 22 was their first one, and you've had a couple of them just recently.
Like people are flying
That's where
from.
Dennis got hit, sent to the hospital. Dennis is our.
People are flying from John's Quick Stop, heading east, so
Or two John's Quick Stop.
or to
From the
John's Quick
west.
Stop. So I would like to recommend a stop sign at that intersection.
So
North-south.
which ones aren't stopping? Are they not stopping from A coming into 9th or?
Well, I think it's easier going east-west, so
That's where all the other yield signs are at. So
Yeah.
I'm okay with the yield sign, but no way stop sign.
What?
I'm okay with the yield sign, but I don't want stop sign.
I'd be more of a fan. I'd be more of a fan of a yield sign there too.
We got them up. All First Avenue has yield signs almost every block. I went and looked, and I think almost every block has yields on First. A and B are very random. There's maybe a couple of yields, and these are all going east-west, nothing north-south. So we wanted to try to make it a little safer with the yield sign. I'm all for that.
Does a yield sign actually stop things, Ted?
it slows things down. If you get does what's intended to do. I mean, people need to yield regardless, if there's signs there anyway, people should be approaching intersections
I
with that
understand that.
mindset of yielding.
There's no natural, I'm in town every day of my life. To me, it's a natural, if you're going north-south, you know, when you're going east-west, you're looking a lot harder at people coming down the road. It's a natural place for yield sign, going east-west, not north-south, in my opinion.
Well, years ago, you remember the stop sign that Jeff didn't like to put up, but he put up.
Yeah, where was that one?
That was on, right by the East School building. After the gentleman's head came in the window of my truck, which there had been numerous accidents there. Ted Jessen's yard. Yeah. So I guess my thought is a stop sign, but
Well, we can start with the yield sign, and if it doesn't change anything.
I would just make a comment that obviously that dip sign was there for years. It essentially acted as a yield sign, and I know obviously there was a ramp there, but it didn't. Obviously, as a kid, you'd always have to slow down through there. Now the road's nice, so you don't necessarily have to. But that dip sign, obviously, you didn't want to bottom out. So I think a yield sign is definitely appropriate. Random stop signs here and there, if it's not like across the board. I know there's one up on 13th or whatever, 17th or whatever. That's kind of like a weird stop sign too, where a yield sign or a two-way stop would make more sense. But that got changed 20 years ago, and it's still just randomly sitting up there. So.
Yeah, I guess the only thought, like I was thinking, why not stop sign? But as we're sitting here discussing it, it's like if we put a stop sign there, then do we go around the next street and have to put stop signs? Like, where does
and
it stop?
yes, I've thought of that too.
Alright.
And the previous chief hated stop signs, I know that.
I'm not against if it's an issue putting stop signs, but
Well, we can do the yield,
See if it helps.
see if it helps. Slow things down a
It really needs to get slowed down.
We do a two-way yield on that, or do we just
Well,
do it all four corners?
uncontrolled intersection, if you put two yields there.
Yeah, east-west would be the best.
Yep.
Yep. Okay,
Lovely.
I think we got that settled.
Looks like we'll have some direction on that.
So there'll have to be a resolution and an ordinance.
I believe so, for yield. It would be under our sign control ordinance, so
No resolution, just an
no, just ordinance.
Just ordinance.
just an
So to take stop signs out, is it much of a job to take stop signs out?
Yes, because it's also, stop signs are also listed in your code of ordinances as well.
I'd like to put that on the agenda for next week, the ones at the Grail School.
What, the T intersection?
Yeah, if you drive it, you'd agree with me, but.
I drive it all the time.
On G Avenue?
Yeah.
Yeah, just, but you can go through every intersection on that road, that's the only one that has a stop sign, and it has good visibility and everything else. We didn't have a meeting for that, I don't know if we can talk about that during this meeting or not. I'm saying I'd love to talk about it at some point, 'cause, yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about uncontrolled intersections, not controlled
Yeah,
ones.
exactly. So that'll be on the agenda at some point.
So what do we do if there's intersections that have impeded line of sight because of parking? Basically, people parking in their yards.
Parking in your yard.
Yeah, and it makes it so when you approach an uncontrolled intersection, it's very hard to see.
They shouldn't be.
I would say that's an area for Brian,
Yeah.
the code enforcer, if it's a case-by-case basis.
I mean, that is a violation of the ordinance,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, if they're in the right of way.
Yeah, need to get the address or locations of Brian.
Second item,
for your committee to discuss, which I guess left you unprepared. I don't know how many of you are aware, but the downtown and close to downtown areas have seen some after-hours activity. Not necessarily any vandalism like we dealt with in the past, but definitely groups of younger people being places where they shouldn't be and trying to get to places where they shouldn't be. It's been mentioned that maybe if we had a camera, or I don't want to say it's too loud, or maybe a dummy camera or something pointing basically down Main Street from First Avenue over to A Avenue. Or
Question, do any of the businesses have cameras down
No.
unfortunately,
there?
no.
No, they don't.
The only one that had anything that we had success with was like a game camera that was cellular, so you could send out an email or text message. I think it was Hippocrate Creek last year. I think they had kids up on the roof and it alerted them, so we could respond timely, and we obviously caught the kids on the roof and dealt with them. I've been pushing cameras to businesses, get those, because it does help. I think you're asking for a city-owned camera.
I don't know. I just know what's been brought up to me, and I think that
And I've
that would
talked
be a
to-
good place to start. And there's several locations that might provide decent.
And I've talked with Brad Schminke and advised him that let's get cameras up, and they're not, they're getting cheaper and cheaper, the technology is, and, we don't have to sit there and watch it, but when something happens,
Correct.
We have something to go by.
Correct.
A lot of your cities, even our size, they have cameras monitoring the city.
Yeah, and and I can get if somebody would want to say, well, that's more of the business owner's responsibility. I get that, but we do have, there's a lot of parking in the streets and cars and such that don't necessarily fall under being down there for business type of things. So I just thought generally 2 city cameras would be a great start, but I just wanted your group to discuss it.
Is that what you would recommend too?
If my way, you'd have cameras all over the city.
That would be better. 4 would be even better. We could get different directions, but I don't want to,
It's, like I said, we don't sit there. It wouldn't be something that we sit
correct.
there and watch cameras.
But it's on
when something happens, we go back and look, and that's how a lot of these cases nationwide are solved.
Is this a specific region downtown that we're talking about that this stuff is happening?
I'd say it's in probably 4 square block radius, if not more, probably more.
I was contacted by the theater. They had an issue.
Yeah, I'd say probably 6 to 8 blocks.
So I talked to the electric utility, and they were making sure that alleyway lights were working, and we're going to actually add maybe 1 or 2. I was there last night, and there are 2 that are not working right now that I brought to their attention. My world, if we get a little more light in some of the darker alleys, that's, will help. I don't know, but it can't hurt. It's surprising that we have to put cameras downtown
Is
in
it-
the actual
is it
streets.
surprising?
To me, it's,
Your world
it's-
is not
it is-
current. Then it
In
is
this
not
day and
surprising.
age, Andrew,
What?
I'm old, and I'm starting to realize that.
So what issues? It's not specific necessarily, but roughly what times is this going on? I mean, after midnight.
Does it matter?
Yeah, it's any
Well,
time.
we have
Curfews, right, for the
We do, and we enforce that.
okay.
But, parents even get cited for that, but it doesn't stop them. Like I talked to you today,
Yep.
the juvenile judicial system is terrible.
Yeah, understand you guys are trying to maybe make sure that this goes to court or whatever each case, because it takes a few before it gets a little more serious until they actually do maybe hand out a suitable punishment.
Yeah, and there'd be some substantial, otherwise it would just be kicked down the road again.
I guess my like unfiltered thought process is to put city cameras on private or to focus on private property. Obviously, as a property owner, if it's not important enough to have the cameras, for your business or your apartment down there or whatever, I don't necessarily love the idea of the city being the one that is the one that pays for that infrastructure. And I will also say to Andrew's note that I own a business, a building in Waterloo, and I had lots of problems with young kids at 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, breaking out windows in cars and stuff like that. And what I did is I went down and I paid Mid-America to put up 4 lights in my parking lot, and the cockroaches don't like the light. So it was a pretty good deterrent, and nobody messed with my stuff for 2 years after doing that. Obviously, that's a much lower expense, and if somebody wants to put up a camera, they can. But I don't love it. If it's one thing if we have a camera on a park, which obviously we can have a conversation about that if it's a city asset, but private property, I feel like that falls on the property owners. So
I'm asking for city cameras on city property. Put them on top of the stoplights. Find a place downtown that is city owned that the cameras could cover. I'm not asking for city to get involved with private property and private owners.
But is the issue not with the private property? Obviously not the streets or sidewalk.
On town. It's not with, no, it isn't with one person. It's with behavior in Vinton. And that's.
It's not just in Benton.
Yeah, I agree. I know. But
It's all over.
I'm concerned with Vinton.
Exactly what you're saying.
I didn't myself realize. I mean, I was approached again by a couple people about the alleys. Then lately, I heard of another instance downtown where the people were. It seemed like the kids were just checking doors to see if they could find one that was unlocked. So I really wasn't up to speed on the fact that that's going on. I thought it was more of the hidden alleys, recesses, kicking doors in, and maybe some light on the alleys would help. And I still think it could help, but if we're actually having a serious issue that I'm not fully aware of, then yeah, I would consider, I guess, if there's an actual issue there. But
Well,
We have a great town, but it's not Mayberry anymore.
I guess my thought would be talk to the business owners and see if they would be willing to put a camera up for their business, and we could have 1 or 2 downtown to kind of cover the downtown. I mean, because we're going to spend a lot of money to cover downtown. We're talking 8, 9 places, whatever. The citizens that pay for everything.
I can draft a letter addressing our
I mean,
businesses.
it'd be for their own protection too.
And we also collectively reach out to the residents of Benton. If they got a Ring doorbell or if they got video surveillance on their property, please share that with us as far as if they do have it. So if we do have situations around town, we can go to that certain areas that we have already documented that area has cameras. We'll go to that area, those residences, and see if we can view those cameras. It's kind of how we approach the arson situation.
My only thought would be is like if we start like downtown, put cameras down there, and then all of a sudden like now they're protected and they're seeing a drop in like this activity. That activity is probably going to move somewhere else, and so then it's when they come in and say cameras out here too. So is it going to just be never ending, going, moving? In which you said you'd love it, so there's that part to it that we can.
But is that a good reason to not start?
Well, and I think with technology, there's certainly, like downtown, we could set up cameras that would stay put. there's also systems that are mobile, and if you're having issues in one area, you can move the cameras there.
Yeah. That point, I mean, a serious amount of trouble, and we installed cameras there, and we haven't had any trouble since then. Now, I'm not saying it's just because the cameras, we had signs up and the cameras are visible. But yeah, it does worry me a little bit because I don't think anybody here thinks the kids are not going to find something to do. Well, I mean, it'd be nice, but so yeah, I do believe it probably, if we solve the downtown issue, that just means they're going to go to the depot, they're going to go like my shop, we have the cameras at my shop. They're going to go somewhere. So that's a valid point. I mean, it really is. They're going to go
I guess
private property.
the other question is this footage, like from what I, heard Ted say, this, the system's broken, right? So to prosecute these, if there's not a huge dollar amount, right, it doesn't totally make a lot of sense. So are these cameras going to be to prosecute, stuff that's currently happening, or is it just going to be, hey, we're going to oversee it, and this is literally just as a deterrent? And obviously, it's one thing if we put cameras on City Hall or a city park or the rec center, like obviously those are city assets or whatever, the skating center, but a street or a sidewalk, you do run into issues with, where do you start and stop? And I think that lights would definitely go a long way at a minimal expense, and lights will benefit a lot of people, but yeah.
Well, why wouldn't it be both? It would be A, be a deterrent, and then B, if there's footage there, used to help punish.
So, yeah, I mean, example, if I have a bunch of kids breaking into my cars at the dealership and they like to hang out there, I'm going to do one of two things. I'm going to call the police department. I'm going to have them patrol my area, right, with officers that are on duty, and or I'm going to, install cameras on my business so that when I do find out who's doing it, that I can prosecute it and I can be I can be made whole when it comes to that. I think that I know we say we're going to put it on city property, but it's to monitor private property. It's not to monitor city property. It's to monitor private property. I don't think that responsibility should fall on the city.
I totally disagree, but that's fine. That's why we're here.
And I don't think it's necessarily there to monitor private property. It's there to monitor foot traffic and vehicle traffic, for that matter, in the community, in city-owned property, the streets, the sidewalks. That's what it would be for.
Alleys.
It'd be an actual, slam dunk for me if you could look into your magic ball, Chief, and say, if we do this, 3 months from now, we're going to have a lot more kids that have been arrested or whatever, actually held accountable for their crimes, as in if they would help with that. And that was an absolute slam dunk that, yes, once we get them on camera, we're going to be able to actually get these kids.
We'll be able to prosecute, but like I said, what the juvenile court hands down for its punishment, it could be a fine, it could be a slap on the hand, probation. But we got to get them into the system to start accumulating. So
it's a frustrating deal.
And if it's a big enough, I hate to say it, if it's a big enough crime, dollar amount, or damage, or whatever, it can jump up the ladder pretty quick.
But most of these are not. We're talking about just
vandalism,
just not high dollar stuff. Yeah. So I don't know. It's tough.
I guess my thought is have Ted draft a letter to all the businesses downtown, see if they're willing to.
It'd have to be a partnership.
Well, see if they're willing to put a camera up on their business, and then that might cover some of the other areas, and then we look at, after he gets a response from that, we look at maybe putting one or two downtown, so it's not such a burden to us, because they're the ones that are going to take the brunt of it from vandalism and stuff like that. So if they wanna protect their property, they're willing to invest $500 or whatever. I don't even know what they cost.
No idea.
It's just more of like a monthly, there's going to be a monthly fee associated with each camera because you're going to have, internet ran to them. And I believe the park cameras are $10 a camera, if I'm not mistaken. So it's going to be a constant expense, whether $10 per camera is a lot, but $240 over 10 years, for 2 cameras, that does add up. So.
But do they wanna protect their property?
Well, the businesses already have internet. They already have infrastructure for
That's what I'm
that, so
saying.
they don't have to pay an individual line. So I definitely like that idea. And if I'm having problems as a business owner and it says, hey, I'm okay, granting the police department access to, watch my gravel lot because I'm having a bunch of kids break into it. If you guys are willing to monitor it daily, while I'm sleeping or, you review it if something happens, sign up. You can have access to the cameras, you know what I mean? But it's my camera at the end of the day. So that's just kind of how, like I said, and I'm not saying that this is my opinion, my unfiltered opinion, and I'm not saying that I'm 100% right in this, but that's what I believe, and that's why and obviously all of us are going to have differing views on it, and I don't know what the right answer is, but I just think that if it's a private property that's being monitored, I love the idea of sending a letter out, trying to get a couple of businesses on board and saying, hey, we'll monitor your camera if you're having issues right now, and hopefully it knocks down all this stuff, and then hey, we can do the proof in the pudding if they migrate 7 blocks north, right? There's going to be somebody around there. Hey, we did this downtown and it, got all these kids out of here. But I'm with Andrew. If we're going to do this and we're going to actually get this stuff off the street and fix the root of the problem, that's one thing. But if it's just to have cameras to monitor to maybe deter them, I don't like having a continual expense for it. So.
Well, we can still look at the light thing too. See what that's going to cost.
Yeah, I mean, we can do that anyway. They're more than happy to do that. It's just, I'm just saying that's going to get a little better. At least the security part of it can get better. It's an easy deal to do.
And I've witnessed that firsthand. My shop is in a very rough part of Waterloo. I have witnessed what lights will do to getting the riffraff out of there, and I am a believer in that. So that's another thing.
I can contact a couple of vendors for cameras if you'd like, get an idea on what the price is going to be as well.
So your Alta platform will house cameras as well?
Yeah.
And then Andrew, my only question is, you put cameras up at your shop?
Yes.
Why don't you just put up more lights?
We also have lights.
So the lights
They
don't quite take care of it?
electrician.
Yeah, they got to find an electrician.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, they'd have both.
We have both at my shop too. We have cameras, and I pay I pay Vinton utilities. I think I've got 4 or 5 spotlights on poles that I pay for every month too. So obviously, we do that down in Vinton too. So.
Yeah, it's your own business. You can put up whatever you want. I mean, he's not expecting the city to pay for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Nope.
That's my rub. Is I'm not. Yeah.
I have cameras at my house and lights too. So.
Yeah. If the owners want to put cameras up, God bless them. That'd be great.
No, just trying to get that correlation. Thank you for making it for me. Doesn't hurt to go out and find out how much they cost. But in the meantime, you're going to go get lights put up. You already talked to them.
Yep. And I'm more than happy. I'd like to go down and talk to some of the shop owners and get a little more information on what they think would help or what some of their ideas. Who? You've had a few contact you. Is that right? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so we close the public safety committee meeting better.
All right, move it down.